Okay, well, it's so nice to meet you. I'm so glad we got the tech issues out of the way. But, it's probably gonna happen again. So, I just have a feeling, and so whatever happens, you just roll with it because so much will be fixed in the cloud from the production behind the scenes, whatever it is Riverside does, so, it'll be fine. So, it doesn't even stress me out anymore, so you don't get stressed either, okay? Alright,
Yeah.
so I know that you're, a little bit familiar with what I do here, but I am a person who's gonna ask you, like, questions about you because I reread the stuff that you sent me, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to ask you really personal questions because, well, I have to." So, I mean,
Yes.
I would do it anyway, but I get a little weird with men sometimes because I can hear one thing of like, "Yeah, I can be emotionally available," and then, like, they come on and sometimes aren't, and then it's disappointing and for everyone. So, I'm only
Yes.
saying that because I had a run of men guests over the last 2 weeks, and I'm really not like a male hater or anything. I'm so here for this conversation for that exact opposite reason, because I'm not a male hater. I believe in men, and I don't think that you all are actually that much different than us. So it gets frustrating when I hear one thing and then the answer to every question is to hold your book in my camera and say, "Get my book," and that pissed me off. So now I'm gonna prepare you that we gonna have a deep conversation, Mike.
Oh, it's my favorite. That's what I'm here for it.
Okay, good, good. Listen, the stars are being weird. I'm already starting out sassy, so sorry about that. Sorry about that. You have nothing to worry
No
about.
apologies needed. Bring the sass. Bring all of you.
I haven't been awake long enough, apparently. Okay, so you did write that you were adopted twice. I would like to start there because I was a foster child in kinship foster care. I had like one external placement, but like, I don't know. I think anyone who's been through the trauma of separation from parents, there's a little bit of a bond there. So I'm really curious about that part of your story.
Yeah, adopted twice in the first year of my life. So the first one was when I was first born. I was separated from my biological mother at birth. She was a drug addict and heavy drugs like crack, heroin, you name it.
Mhm.
And she was also raped and abused most of her life, earliest at 14, and then onward. That created a really difficult situation for her as a mother. She didn't have the resource. There was so much wounding inside that she could not, she knew in her heart of hearts that she couldn't raise me in the way that she wanted.
Yeah.
And so I was separated at birth. And then my biological grandmother didn't want me in the system. So she ended up getting custody of me, but then getting diagnosed with terminal cancer really shortly after.
Oh,
And so she knew that she was going to die at some point. She didn't know if it was months, if it was a few years. So she ended up finding a private adoption because she wanted, and this is something I'm so grateful to her for, is there was so much love from her that she had that what I call the fierce feminine online, and she would not let me go into some system where she couldn't be a part of my life for as long as she was alive.
yeah.
And so she went through all the processes of doing a private adoption, and then she ended up staying alive until I was 5 years old, and she ended up being, our babysitter, and I was
Oh,
able to still nurture our bond until I was
yeah.
5.
Wow, and she was a good grandma.
Oh my god. Melissa, she was the best. Like, when
That's so
she
cool.
gives me what's really cool about this is in the work that I do with people, we're going into really deep nervous system patterns. We're going into childhood trauma. And what's really cool, the gift she gave me was what I've read in books, is that if we get met enough of the time relationally, that we will develop resilience and aspects of secure attachment.
Mhm.
And she was only with me till I was 5, and my body remembers how she loved me.
Yeah.
My body remembers her attunement to me and my experience and the care for me, the touch, the sweetness, the pace. My body remembers all of it, which has been tumultuous for the rest of my damn life because where's
Yeah.
my grandma?
Yeah.
And people who didn't have those qualities created a lot of, I'm not a victim to it, but it created a lot of distress because I knew what it was like to have that level of attunement and care. And then to lose it was really terrifying.
Yeah.
But she gave me enough where I can feel every ounce of my being, what being loved feels like from the inside.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. Because I, as a child, would have said something similar about my grandma. Um,
Mm.
but and there was a part of her that in these really quiet moments, she could love to that depth, but really only when we were younger and she couldn't get her own shit kinda wrapped up in the mix of it because she had so many narcissistic traits to where she found, like, jealousy over us in small spaces too, like, there was so many barriers between her and everyone around her, which I recognize now because I did the same thing, but at one time, I would have called her my best friend, but then as I actually started to kinda unpack stuff later in adulthood, I was like, "I don't know, I kinda feel the most mad at her because she was supposed to be the one that had her shit together," and, so it's so sweet to hear such, like, a loving, uh, story about your grandma, though I was like, "Is this your mom's mom?"
It was, yeah.
Yeah, okay. How many siblings did your mom have?
Oh, 2 siblings.
Really?
2
Okay.
siblings, one aunt that I never met, she died when she was 45, I think, and then my biological uncle who's, uh, in my life,
He is?
still alive in my life,
That's
yeah.
cool, and is your biological mom still alive?
No, she actually chose to leave, I'm trying to remember the year, I think it was 2019. She
Oh, okay.
decided to leave through something called MAID, and I think it's only in Canada, and that's where somebody can have an assisted suicide.
Yeah. There's a few places here that allow it, but you have to be really in the US, the standards are pretty strict. And of course we know about Switzerland. Okay. Did you have a relationship with her when she passed?
No, I met my biological mom when I'm 40 now, and I met her when I was, I think about 20.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and I didn't have the resources to build a relationship with her because I was in a place where I was kicked out of my house on the day of grad when I was 18, and I went down this dark path, became a drug dealer, debt collector, and there was a part of me from as far as I can remember that was looking for my mom, looking
Yeah, of
for my
course.
biological like line, as I imagine you understand. And there's just this like insatiable desire to connect to where I came from. But then when I did, there was so much trauma that my trauma met her trauma, and it was terrifying. Like there wasn't
Yes.
enough resource for us to actually build a relationship. So I actually ran away. I couldn't do it. She was all in and I love you and let's spend Christmas
Oh, I
together. And I
bet.
just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And I felt so much shame about that for such a long time. And then once I did more work and I learned about trauma healing and I created more resilience, I really wanted to reconnect because I knew I could then do it, but I couldn't find her.
Mm.
I kept trying through all these different avenues and I couldn't find her. And then eventually it's interesting. I had this feeling, and it's interesting to show how much we are tied together that biological bond even through time and space because there's this feeling that I had that she was either dead or dying.
Mhm.
And then within 6 months of having that gut feeling, my biological uncle called me and let me know that within a couple days she was deciding to leave.
Wow.
And so when she left, I was flying to go see her, and then I just couldn't get there in time.
Oh, wow. I know that that's become a real part of your journey. So in hindsight, do you recognize a feeling of betrayal from that experience because you had built up a level of expectation for what being with your biological mom would be like? And then it just being different, whether it was good, bad, whatever, but nothing can meet the expectation of a little boy who thinks that being with his mom is going to solve all of his problems, even if you weren't aware that that's what you thought.
Yeah, I think there was a slight awareness, that she would solve all my problems. I thought for sure that making that reach would give me a feeling or an experience of finally
Yeah.
a place where I can be loved and accepted. But you know what's interesting? No betrayal because I did feel how much she loved me.
Okay. So you
When I
felt
went to
accepted
when
in
I
the
went
way
to her
you hoped you would.
oh my god, like, even though she was anxious and super under-resourced, she met me in such a way when I reflect back I didn't know this at the time, but when I reflect back, when I showed up, she had the strength and the courage to meet her biological son with the state that she's in, her making the decision. I can only imagine how frightening that experience would have been.
Mhm.
And she said yes to it. And she was vibrating and shaking. She was so anxious. And she
Oh,
stayed. She
yeah.
invited me in. She wanted to connect. And when I walked into her apartment, she was in low income housing. I looked around her apartment and I could see palpably, I didn't have the full understanding of this, but I got a taste of her heart. She had teddy bears everywhere. It was this little, it looked like a little girl's bedroom.
Yeah.
And when we sat down to talk, she pulled out this like duotang and she had all these pictures that she'd kept and it was pristine and it was kept really well for all these years with even
Wow.
knowing her level of trauma and drug abuse and all the things, she protected that thing so
That's crazy
well
because I
that
know
it
that
gave me
chaotic life.
visceral oh, yeah, and within all that chaos, there was something where she protected that duotang that gave her bond and connection to me, and then she gave it to me, and it's interesting because that was so attuned, it was so much love and care, even though there wasn't the physical connection and proximity through all those 20 years. I felt so much love in that woman that there wasn't anywhere the little boy in me could grasp on to any sort of betrayal because there was love. That was
Yeah.
real. It was
And that
evident.
had been the most part of your expectation. Yeah, you just made a connection for me actually. Because though I wasn't raised by my parents, they were still pretty actively involved in our lives. And I I have recognized forever that my mom was really stunted developmentally and emotionally in terms like her inner child. She was like a little 13, 14-year-old girl and she died when I was 22. But I can remember when I would visit her house, the rows and rows of shelves of stuffed animals in her bedroom. And
Mm.
I don't know, that was just a connection that I made too. In hindsight, I always talk about how she really, led from that inner child, but then the sweet part of that is that she loves stuffed animals, and I mean, I knew she loved, like, regular animals. She was the kid who would bring home any stray. Didn't matter what they were, and the uglier the better, whatever worst condition that she could nurture and and pour her little life into for a little bit. She was all about that. So I don't know. That's such a sweet little connection to think she loves stuffed animals. And I knew that, but I don't know. I hadn't really put that in the sweet little place. So thank you for that. So you
Yeah,
said
you're
you
so
were
welcome.
kicked out after graduation. So can I ask you about like what your adoptive parents were like and what that experience was?
Such a good question. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, it would have been a very different answer. My relationship to my parents is unique. They they loved each other very much, and the label that I would give their dynamic was very codependent.
Mhm.
Living parallel lives. They lived under the same roof, but I could almost guarantee if you were to ask them questions about who they actually were, their beliefs, their thoughts, what they wanted to experience in life, my guess would they wouldn't be able to answer those questions. There wasn't emotional intimacy. I don't think I ever saw my parents kiss once.
Mm.
Didn't ever see them hug or snuggle. They just went through life. They were committed and devoted to each other. My mom was very Catholic. My dad was an alcoholic. He read a lot of books
Yeah.
and was very distant. He
I
was
was
what
about to
I would
say,
call a he was a
when you
very
read a lot of books, you're so fucking avoidant. Was he an Aquarius? My God, sorry.
yeah, yeah. I actually don't know. I know his gene keys, but I don't know his astrology
When's his
sign. I have
birthday?
to July 7th.
Oh, even better, a Cancer. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that actually makes so much sense. Totally. That's the part I loved about my dad is he was very sensitive, he was
Uh-huh.
very caring and kind, and I think that's the thing he had a hard time integrating because of all the insecurities and inadequacies.
Yes.
They my parents, they did their best with what they had, but they came from a culture, and I really do see this as an impact of culture. They didn't know when shit gets hard, get help.
No. No, I mean, were your parents boomers? Like, is that the generation they're from? Yeah, I
Yeah, my
mean, it
mom's 80.
yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing, and I really do hold so much animosity towards the entire generation. I'm trying to work through it, but the
Yeah.
part of me that's tapped in understands they had it even worse than we did. They had very limited skills, and, I mean, the elder Gen X, which, I mean, I'm not, I'm a baby Gen X, but the elder Gen X are just as bad. There's a harshness and a, just abrasiveness and a distance from between them and everyone around them that was absolutely inherited from the boomers. But whenever I put myself in their spot, I mean, I've done all the same shit. The only difference between me and them is I'm willing to change, but I get how they got this way. I really do, because the silent generation, because of their own struggles, were fucking horrible too. That's
Yeah.
the height of when it was absolutely okay to beat the shit out of your entire family and nobody even bat an eye. I just learned, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but I just learned through a friend who was going through her dad's old like stuff that he's kept for generations. I didn't know in 1960 that if you wanted as a female to divorce your spouse, you had to sue them in court and prove a lot of things to be able to get a divorce. Cuz I don't like, shit, I didn't learn shit in school cuz I had trauma brain, and then, I didn't take a lot of history in college. So, well, I've never really learned any of that history, but read through the deposition and stuff, and I was like, "Holy shit." I needed to see this because no fucking wonder these women are batshit crazy. Like, truly, they couldn't even leave an abusive spouse. And even if it was just emotional abuse, and I'm going to use the word just in quotes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, those women went through so much. So I just went on a tangent. My God, today is such a weird day, but I get it. I get why I'm hearing your heart when you say they did their best in their culture. Cause yes, they really went through some shit.
Well, there's 2 things there, and it's taken a long time to get to the position of holding loving compassion and
Mhm.
understanding for their experience because, as you know, there's a phase of the healing and the growing up as an
Mhm.
adult, because most of us are little kids in
Yes.
adult bodies, and we don't even know that. We don't know our brain is functioning at a level of a 4 or 5-year-old because of, stuck trauma in the body. But there was a phase where I had to go through the like, fuck you, I
Yeah.
hate you,
Mhm.
and just the fury towards all of the impact of their decisions and their behavior and the neglect, and me making choices to go get help and support and guidance and mentorship and held in the ways, actually relationally held in the ways that they couldn't as an adult, and me having the strength and courage to do that helped me grow up. So
Yeah.
now it's easier for me to see their situation and love them because I've been able to love those scared, afraid, vulnerable, damaged parts of myself. I
Exactly.
couldn't do that for them until I was able to do that for myself. So there's something important to be said there is we have to be able to, because there's one way that people approach this, and that is, oh, they don't want to hold their parents accountable to the impact of their
Yes.
misses, which I think is bypassing.
God, you're like literally reading my thoughts out loud because yes. And it's
Yeah.
a huge red flag for me when I hear people just say they did the best they could. Because first of all, being angry at your experiences is normal and okay.
Yeah, and that's a part of healthy evolution. We all have to go through that part of development, and if we skip it, we are not a fully integrated human
No, we
being,
are
and if you
not.
look at a toddler, what do? If they're misattuned with, they'll let you know. They'll throw a toy at your face,
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
scream no, they'll have a tantrum, and that misbehavior, for any of you who aren't watching the video, air quotes,
Yep.
the misbehavior is neurological feedback of their feeling dropped. Their attachment system is not being tended well. And if that's cared for and there's adjustments, we will develop into healthy, integrated human beings that are in this place of inspiration. But if we don't get that, and if we don't move through the part that didn't get that, we can't grow up. We
Right.
have to go through the part that is healthy. And that is, I'm pissed at you, mom and dad, for not knowing who I am and not attuning to what
Mhm.
I need and not giving me the compassion, the love, and the care, scooping me up, rubbing my face, giving me a reassurance. We have to go through that part that's pissed about that, that's been hurt by that, and if we can and be loved in it and there's presence in it, we do evolve and grow up and then land in the part of, yeah, and now I can love and have compassion for you because I've really acknowledged my lived experience that
Absolutely.
actually happened. And okay, now I can hold both. But we can't skip that part.
No, and for me, I remember when I didn't hold that much anger at my parents. I did with my dad before he died, and then going through grief because he died when I was 15. Going through grief really allowed me to work through that. But I just didn't have a lot of anger for my parents because they were addicts and they had such limited capacity. And I kind of understood that. But I did hold my grandma to a much different standard. And then she was the one who was my primary caregiver, so she really had a lot more time to do some real damage on me, and she did. And I remember, because
Right.
really I've only come to peace with her. She died like 11 years ago, but I've only come to peace with her in the last year or so through this podcast, truly meeting someone and that said they're just the right thing that like hit me in the heart. But I had to get to a place where I said, I fucking hate her right now, and I'm gonna be okay with that. Because you know how many people out there who will throw the word forgiveness around and like, you have to, you have to, you have to. And I can have my own feelings about that and what I believe is a step in integration, but you can't force any of this. So you can tell someone all day, you got to forgive. But, I'm more of like let's talk about what forgiveness really is. And the more you can forgive yourself, the more you're going to extend that just naturally as a natural byproduct of the work and the love that you're giving to you. It's going to be extended to others because you can't extend to someone what you can't extend to yourself. But I am so grateful to myself now that I just gave myself that space to be like, I fucking hate that woman. She fucked me up in so many ways and blah, blah, blah. And then the reason the show helped me get there is because I was talking about myself and my mom. And then some connection was made where I was like, "Shit, I have done all the same shit she has, though." You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's generational trauma. Like, of course, there's so many things I didn't do too, but only because I remember how they felt. Like, I can remember so many times thinking about doing, or mostly just words, like the thing I was about to say to one of my kids, and then be like, "Oh, can't say that because grandma would say that shit." And then I'd be like, "And now I kinda understand why she did, but I also know how it hurt, so, like, I'm not gonna do that." But the more times like that and the more of those things I had to forgive in myself, it became a snap decision to then all of a sudden, like, have peace around her. I mean, and it was just that quick, but it was so many steps before that of loving the shit out of myself and offering so much compassion to me for all the things that I had beat the shit out of myself for years. Finally, I get to a place where I'm like, and that was a part of the journey. So here we are. And then I could feel generational healing at that point because we as women in my family have all committed the same sins against our children. And while I wasn't physically abusive and I, didn't torment them with scary movies and shit, I've done all my own shit. And so that was something I really, really, really had to work through. And then it just one day, I did enough work on me to where I could see the me in her and the her in me and go, well, if I love me, I'm gonna go ahead and extend this to her. I mean, she was long gone by then, but the hatred wasn't, so it was really nice for that to go away.
Mhm. What I love hearing you describe here, Melissa, is what I call the 3 phases of relational consciousness, and we can't skip them, we have to go through them, and it's a dance. They will wave in and out depending on who we're relating with. And the first phase is me consciousness, and then it goes you, me consciousness, and then it's we consciousness.
Mhm.
A lot of us are stuck in me consciousness and in relationship,
Ye
and then go and bash around in you, me consciousness. Well, if he didn't do this, well, she didn't do that.
Yeah.
And and then if we stay stuck in that part of consciousness and we don't move through our experience, the emotions that we're having, God, which I know, is I've been previously married and it ended in divorce. I was stuck in the belief of it's definitely her. There's definitely
Mhm,
something
mhm,
she's
I know
doing
all
that's
about that.
creating this pain in me,
Mhm. He
and
is
I had to
absolutely the
grow up.
fucking problem here, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And convinced based off the feelings, the evidence my brain was
Oh, yeah.
gathering,
So
and woe is
self-righteous, right?
me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was too, I get
And
it.
that's a part of Yeah, and that's just a part of relational consciousness. But if we can take ownership and responsibility for that, we are always co creating whatever we're experiencing. Our reality and relationship is always for our own awakening.
Mhm.
God, life, whatever you want to call it, always places the perfect divine ingredients that will match the unresolved, unintegrated material of our past to poke and provoke those places in us so that we can learn how to expand our heart and love those parts in ourself and take responsibility and it's not actually about them, or maybe it's 5% about them and
Right.
it's 95% about my dad or my mom, and
Mhm.
it's my job now to hone in this little kid that's going into a fury or shutting down or whatever, however it's expressing, and
Yes.
whoa, what does this part of me need?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I need to learn boundary. Whoa, maybe I need to learn how to guide this relationship in a better way so that my partner softens, or maybe there's a place I'm misattuning to them. That only happens if we are willing to take responsibility for this fact that whatever is happening in front of us is inevitable based off of the life we've already lived.
It is just a reflection of
That's
your
the
inner
unlock.
world. Okay, so let me ask you this because I have also been divorced. And then now I'm with my second husband, current husband. I don't even know what the right terminology is because I hate when I say current husband as if I'm about to get a new one. But so we've been together for like 17 years. We just had our 14th wedding anniversary. And
Congrats.
thank you. Those all those years that I was so sure. Well, first of all, I lived in this place where I believed he and everyone else around me loved me far less than I loved them, and that I gave way more. And I was just such a little martyr ass victim to my story, and I didn't see it at all. I mean, I was like, no, I'm a survivor. I had this label and identity of a strong woman and what that means, yet did not see how I just had zero victim consciousness. Like, I did not see how I was, creating villainhood in everyone in my story, and really I was the villain. So for years there was all this insecurity and jealousy, and I mean, he's an avoidant, so it was easy because he could just check out of a conversation. And then I'd just be ranting for hours. It was such a tumultuous situation. But like, I finally woke up one day, like, just because, during healing, I had a whole spiritual awakening and stuff. And I just decided, like, I would invoke self-love and then, you know, just confirm that decision over and over and over through my thoughts, through my actions, through my words. And one day, I just was like, "Oh my god, I feel it. I feel love." And I can remember saying to him, like, "You do love me," because I couldn't receive that from anybody because I didn't have that for me. So what did that look like for you? Because this audience has heard what a psycho I am. I mean, I'm still a psycho. That's the thing, is that I'm still fucking up pretty regularly, and I'm really open about that. My marriage is the one place that, like, I'm like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to learn everything because all of my shit is in this relationship. Every time I'm triggered, I'm like, just can somebody else in my life, like, just for just a little break, can we just have a day of where, like, there isn't something, it's not like we're fighting all the time, but I'm learning something every day from my relationship. And it can become tiring, but also I am a psycho sometimes. So I'm really open about that. But I would like to hear how you were in relationship before, because I'm hearing you say the same, like, general idea, which is like it was all her fault, and I mean, I believed that too. Like, I really, the lies that your brain will tell you to keep you safe are crazy because I believed the stories in my head. Maybe even just shedding light on what the stories were, how you were showing up in relationship.
The stories for me that were running in the background, I wouldn't say I was conscious of them. I was
Mhm.
pretty numb in my body. I was pretty dissociated in lots of ways. But the stories for me were, God, uh, nothing I do is ever good enough, uh, because of how she would respond. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
she just always wants more, and it's never enough. And the narrative was, for me, I really believed she didn't love me. She didn't care about me.
Yeah.
If she doesn't do all these things that really are tuned to what I think I need, which is from a really young part, I was convinced she didn't care. And what's so crazy about it, Melissa, is when I reflect back to that marriage, she tried so damn hard.
Yeah.
And I went through waves and waves and waves of grief and remorse. That woman loved me so hard. And unfortunately, it was in a way where instead of being my partner and holding me accountable to the places I was not being adult, and it's not her responsibility. This was our co-creation of our material coming together, but she enabled a lot of my really gnarly qualities.
Yeah.
She became my mother. She wasn't my partner, she was my mother. And it was insatiable, and it actually brought me into a de-evolution. And this is what codependence will do, is if we try to meet and satisfy all the places in our partner that just creates comfort, it's different. Comfort's different than safety.
Yes.
But when she was satiating all my comforts, it was actually numbing me out to the part of adult relationship. And there's meant to be tension. You describe it beautifully in your marriage of, whoa, we got to learn our attachment dance, anxious, avoidant. Like, we need to understand that it's going to be uncomfortable, and that both people have work to do. The avoidance got to work on
Yep.
leaning in and moving towards connection, taking responsibility and ownership for the impact of being dismissive, not making eye contact, wanting to separate every time things get hard, not
Mhm.
staying in difficult conversations. And the anxious needs to work on self containment and not threatening the bond and not criticizing and shaming,
Yes.
and learning how to be clear in the request and the need that you have and give space for the partner's heart to open. There's so much. There's work that's required there. But when
Yeah.
I go back to that marriage, there was no awareness that that was the work to do. And so my little kid, my brain that was functioning from a really low level was projecting out that she is my mom and
Yes.
she was meeting all these things. But what was so frustrating is she would meet me in all those requests, but it wouldn't last beyond that experience. And then that was what started to invoke a deep inner depression.
Yeah.
I started to go backwards. I started to numb out watching Netflix specials when you ask about my behaviors.
Yeah.
Every single night after work, I would just tune out with Netflix. I started smoking pot. I used porn. I just anything to try to feel alive in the level of numbness that I was experiencing
Just
in my body, and
dopamine
I didn't
seeking in
know.
any way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just little instant hits and gratification, and then it just deepened the depression
'Cause
because I
the
wasn't
shame piles
showing up.
on. Yeah.
Oh, and then what it led to when it finally led to the shock of when she was done, because it wasn't a conversation, it was just a moment. I It just blasted me wide open. I could finally see and feel all the places that I wasn't showing up for myself, and it was so sobering to
Yeah.
actually finally be able to see how I co-created it. It wasn't something she was doing or not doing. It was what I wasn't showing up for, what I wasn't feeling, and that was a humbling moment.
Oh, I bet. And I just had an epiphany while you shared. So one of the things that one of my current frustrations with my husband is that, well, because of because of how manipulative I did used to be, which I didn't think I was being manipulative, but I absolutely was, especially in communication, and I really weaponized my communication. I can see I really did. Um, he still has a belief that anytime I'm talking and trying to explain a feeling or an experience, I'm trying to manipulate. He is still very avoidant. He really is. But the other day he said it and it really pissed me off, but I was like, why is this really bothering me? Because I know I'm not trying to. I know that I listen, I could be wrong because God, I'm wrong a lot, but I really feel like I'm not manipulating and that I'm doing this correctly, right? I'm showing up correctly. But I think what I just realized as you were speaking is he doesn't feel safe still in those conversations, and that's really what it boils down to, and I understand why. He's naming the words, and I'm always gonna use a lot of words, and that's where I was stuck, is like, "This is how I fucking talk," you know? I can't help that you're fucking threatened by that, goddamn. But, like, he's just saying, "I don't feel safe," and that I can work with that, and I don't know why I haven't realized that on this level to where, like, I feel that from him instead of before I was just like, "The fuck? What else do I need to do?" There's a lot I can name just off the top of my head that I could create safety in conversation. So, anyway, thank you because you helped me with that. Because I was really like for about a week, I've been like, "Well, then how do we have conversation if he is going to believe I'm manipulating him?" And I was stuck. I was stuck on that because I was defensive that he was saying I was manipulating him because I really didn't feel like I was. And I stand by that. But I can't be defensive and I have to create the safety or at least attempt to. He has to show up too, but I have to help create a safe environment. And I know that. So I'm not going to shame myself for not realizing it before now, but this conversation has helped me. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And I want to speak to that, Melissa, because you're highlighting a beautiful thing. This is the dance of relationship. Courtney and I, so my partner and I support couples to live what we call the sacred we. We are stronger when we're bonded. The most important, like so many people think that there's a problem with the partner, there's a problem with themselves, and all that internalized shame, but it's not a problem with no one's doing anything wrong. There's a disconnection problem. If we look at it from healthy right order, it's the bond. The bond is the most important thing, and we are in each other's care to tend that bond.
Mhm.
And any time we're in that defense that you're describing, it's our opportunity to get to know where is the wisdom of our nervous system trying to protect us from something it's remembering.
Yes.
Because it's not bad or wrong, but it's really helpful information. Whoa. If it's hysterical, it's historical. And so what I mean by that, if there's activation, it's history. Your nervous system's doing something to defend against this perceived threat on character or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But what I'm feeling from you is the defense strategy dropped because of something within this connection. And that's how we learn. We're relational beings. If there's something that can come from another angle where your system isn't perceiving the threat, then your system can move into curiosity. When we're curious, we
Yeah.
create new neural pathways. We can tap into the wisdom or the insight of, oh, now I can really hear what my husband was saying.
Mhm.
Now I can do something about it. And this is why it's so helpful to what I call this is sitting in circle, having many connections to other people nervous systems, because sometimes our partner could be saying the same thing over and over and over, but we can't receive it because our nervous system's flooding into memory
Yes.
and then trying to protect ourselves. And, my imagining is the same for him. But if he can start to feel the spaciousness where you can take responsibility for parts where you're not fully hearing what he's saying,
Mhm.
then he'll probably go into, and this isn't all about you. There's places where I'm just having a hard time holding your feelings, and the
Right.
words that you use hit my material, and I'm feeling inundated or I'm feeling attacked, and then it's then about you, and this is where we ping off of each other.
Yes.
But if we can draw and start to take responsibility, like with Courtney and I, anytime we're in an activation, the first one who recognizes we're in activation, that's the person where, as an example, if Courtney's feeling triggered by something I did or said, I'll immediately notice her facial expression, all the nonverbal feedback that she's in a distress. And then I get to immediately, in the care of her nervous system, be curious, what is happening for me? Oh, yeah, I'm kind of in get shit done mode. Oh, I know that reminds her nervous system of her dad who wasn't emotionally present, and she got really hurt by that. So, what would the repair be? This isn't fathering her, it's giving her the fathering qualities to be an ally to help bring her back to safety. So then I'll slow my movements down 3 times that I imagine or how I normally want to move. I'll soften the muscles of my face. I'll walk towards her and I'll put my hand on her back, sometimes not quite ready, but I'll just be close to her and I'll be like, "Hey, can we make eye contact?" Sweetie, God, my imagining is that my cold face and my get shit done energy was a bit jarring. Am I right? Yeah. God, I'm so sorry. Hey, I'm right here. God, I love you so much. And then I'll just rub her back. And then I'll tune into
Oh.
that little girl and I'll imagine
Yeah.
that little girl in her nervous system, and I'll just imagine what did that little girl need right now? And I'll give her the softness, I'll lend her my heart. I'll feel the sadness that happened so many times that her system had to create all these defenses, and
Mhm.
then even as I'm sharing this, it brings up emotion because then it's easy to feel the compassion and the grief that happened, and then that's what keeps us bonded. That's what actually does the generational healing is we're creating a new lived experience on the felt sense, and then the brain will rewire. And almost every time she then either that moment or later that evening she'll say, "Oh my God, thank you. You are helping me heal my relationship to the masculine in ways I've never had before." And then how good that feels to be a man to offer that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's the mutual exchange is it starts to feel so damn good to be allies, to actually guide each other in a new way where we feel safe, not just told we should feel safe.
Right. Yes, and I think what you're highlighting, for me at least, is because I think when you are spiritual, it's so easy for us to talk so much about the things that we need to do for ourselves, to ourselves, with ourselves, the independent nature of growth and evolution and all of the things. But I think it can be a real source of shame to admit, like, how desperate we are for connection, even though we know we're wired for that. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, all the things we need the connection. And I know for myself, I kind of just gotten to this place over like the last 3 months where I got really comfortable with no shame being like, no, I just fucking want connection with people. Like, I'm a chatty Cathy. I want to talk, not about like bullshit. I want to have these types of conversations. They light me up. They feel good. I take things too seriously. I know that, but I don't care. Like, that's who I am. And I love connection. I love to just, meet with people. And I felt so much shame because I was told I was too much for that for so long, and I was too sensitive and whatever. And just in the last 3 months, I've said, like, I have this little ethos right now of I'm not taking myself too seriously, because I was living in fear of authority, of some spiritual authority, that I was doing everything wrong and I was being punished. And so working to like rewire my beliefs around co-creation, because I was like, "No, but that's not true. So let's get some shit out instead of like leaning into I must have made a mistake somewhere if this isn't in my physical reality." So I recognized a while ago that I have still some deconstructing to do around religious authority and whatever, but integrating it has been a little bit tricky for me. So I'm taking myself less seriously in that I'm not punishing myself all the time. And I'm allowing, for the first time in my life, anything that comes up instead of stifling everything because I'm like, spiritual women don't do this, strong women don't do this. Like just the stuff that we can do to ourselves. So, in that, though, I have really opened up to the fact that, like, damn, I really do crave people in my energy. I crave solitude too, and I am okay with my alone time. I'm really okay with my alone time. But I thought it was a either or, and that I was bad or needy or too much for how much I crave connection with others. So I think what you're highlighting is like, yeah, we're wired for this connection. And I don't wanna say should, but it is more than capable to be that type of connection where there is 2 really beautiful individuals who really can co-create an entire energetic part of their relationship.
Yeah. You're highlighting such a beautiful part. A fully healthy, integrated human being has the capacity to be with all the difference and the discomfort of other people and in the solitude of themselves. Healthy,
Mhm,
integrated human knows that we are interdependent as a species and that it's in our enlightened self interest to really get to know relationship and how to do it well. The better we get at leading other people in relationship, which only comes from leading ourselves. We can't lead
mhm,
other people in ways that we haven't led inside of ourselves. That's the thing that creates what everyone's looking for.
mhm.
We live in such a hyper individualistic culture where there's so many rewards and accolades of doing something on your own. The
Yes.
song started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Oh my god,
It's like,
yes.
which, yay, yup. let's love ourselves and celebrate where we do things on our own because it feels really good to accomplish something, especially for the masculine. It feels so good to go out and conquer a
Mhm.
solo hunt and come back with meat and
Yeah.
look at what I brought. But there's another layer to it is no person does anything alone. Even the hunter that goes off and gets the kill on his own was mentored, was shown how to use the weapon, shown the patterns of how that animal moves. And that's the whole part of being a healthy, alive person is we need relationship in order to pass on information and experience, give us the safety for us to go out and do things that are hard and scary. When we look at how this was built in the beginning, this is healthy right order. Baby 100% dependent on a journey of slowly moving into independence and then interdependence of, oh, I when I have a need I will reach and ask for help. That's the ideal. If mama does her job well, what she will do is she will give all the sweetness, and that's what I'm hearing in your process is you're really learning how to be the good mother inside to the parts of you that are maybe having a hard time.
Yeah.
If mama gives us that energy, what will happen is the kiddo will want to go out in life. And that's then dad's role. Dad's role is to then take them out and push their edges. You know, how often I hear mothers talk about, oh my God, it's terrifying. You did what with our kid?
Yeah.
That's just the healthy role of father is now we're going to go out and we're going to kind of hit the edge of scariness and risk. And then that child needs to come back to honor the tenderness that we all have in our hearts and our nervous systems and go back and be like, oh, mama, I'm scared. And then this happened. And then feel all the feelings. And then if it's done really well, it integrates. And then it hits that new place of like, okay, it moved through all the feelings. Now I'm back in the stoke and the excitement and dad, let's go. And then go and
Yeah.
push out farther. And that's how we develop capacity. So many people didn't get that. We don't get encouraged to do that in our culture. It's no, you got to do it on your own. Heal yourself first and then be in relationship. That's insane. That's an insane thought to have. How the
Yeah.
hell are we going to learn how to be in relationship just living by yourself? That's not a practice. That's not, there's no playground. There's no
Exactly.
practice. There's no
Exactly.
messing it up and then finding your way through it or being in the vulnerability of shit. We need to be seen in how well or how much we suck at this and get help and guidance. And
Yes.
it's a vulnerable thing to be seen in the places we don't got it.
Yep.
And that's the only way we develop the tone and the capacity is we have to be seen in the vulnerable places. And when we get that, it feels good. Like you said, you love having connection. All of us do, whether we want to believe that or not. We are designed to love connection. But if we're in the belief that we don't like it and we don't want it, it's because of stored trauma
Mhm.
that is now oriented to that I am safer alone.
Yes.
But then that creates distress because it's not how we're designed. And so these are the people that will like, wow, I'll push harder, I'll accomplish more. And then maybe then eventually I'll be lovable and enough and free and not need anyone. And then the
No, that
person
was a
gets
goal
there.
of mine for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I am gonna be completely independent, and I'm not gonna need anyone.
Yeah, it's the boss babe
I was
archetype. I'm
trying.
just,
I was
yeah,
trying. I don't know what I was just tired of being let down. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was betrayed by every part of my experience, every minute of every day, and also I just felt so not enough, and I just didn't wanna try to be enough anymore, and so it was a lot easier to shut down, and honestly, I have recognized recently too how many fucking lies I've created about judgments of others too. Because I knew I was a real judgy bitch about people, but I didn't realize how much of my agitation by others was manufactured by my nervous system to keep me safe. Like, I've told this a few times, but I've started attending a grief group recently, and I went in with really low expectations because I'm a therapist, so I know how those groups look, but immediately I could feel every part of my body just responding really negatively, and I was like, "Stop it. Girl, what are you doing? You fucking knew who was gonna be in this group, and why did you wanna be here? Because you want community. You weren't here to get all the answers. I didn't join this group because I needed advice or whatever. I wanted community." And so, as I sat and chilled out and I was like, "Oh, I kinda like her." But, like, 5 minutes prior, I was like, "This bitch." You know?
Yeah.
And it highlighted so much of what I was already learning, because that's what grief does is it really just shines this light on all the shit that was already there. So I was already learning so much about the barriers I had placed between me and everyone my entire life, and especially my husband. Like, I have the most barriers between me and him, and I had already started kinda unraveling that, and then I lost a child. And
Mm,
the grief just, like, I said to myself, "I don't wanna do this the way I've done other grief." Like, there's been a really you're spiritual, so you'll get this, but, like, there's been a really weird parallel where my first loss really was my dad who died of an overdose when I was 15, and then now my child died of an overdose at 18. And
oh, I'm so sorry.
and Thank you, and looking back at how I dealt with that, obviously no shame, I was fucking 15 years old doing my best, you know? But I can
Yeah.
see that was the beginning of pushing people away, and I was just now kinda working through that, and then I lost my son, and, um, I started to see all the ways, like, thank God I've reprogrammed enough to where my subconscious was like, "Oh, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying to yourself, like, there's a lie here," because I really had this narrative of, like, nobody showing up for me and, all the things that you can feel when you're grieving, but it was in those moments that I was like, or everything just hurts, and there isn't and you feel so isolated because nobody can understand this experience. And that's fine, but they are showing up, and I, for the first time ever, felt so much love, like, I I was in so much gratitude for myself those early days that I had done the work on myself to be able to receive the assistance I was receiving from community, and I was like, "This is every ounce of love I have ever put out coming back to me, and I deserve this level of support," and it's been a wild ride. I mean, we're only 3 months into this, but I can see where I walk into a grief group and I'm immediately annoyed, and I had to, like, spend 5 full minutes talking to myself of, like, "Quit. What You wanted to be out of the house, you wanted to talk." Like, that's literally all I wanted, I wanted to feel people in the same room as me, and I didn't go to the child loss group because I have an older son who, he wouldn't go if I didn't go, so we went together, so we're in the same little group, which
Mm,
I also love. Like, I don't I'm a little afraid of the child loss people right now, actually, so, like, it's nice because I got my buddy here and afterwards I was like, "Man, at first I was really judging the shit out of these motherfuckers," but then, like, when I let my hackles down a little bit, I was like, "We might be friends. I don't know. I could feel the vibes here," And then the first person who had agitated me when I sat down and I was, like, working consistently to soften, I was like, "Oh, she's so sweet, and she laughed at my joke." Like, there was so much love felt in this little room, but I had to lay down the little sword that I walked in with because this is what I do to lie to myself and say community isn't safe. I do this to myself a lot. And so I've been really profoundly grateful that I recognized that even before Jake died, and that's been, like, the biggest lesson to come from it so far is that, man, my brain really wants me to stay away from love and people. It doesn't know what the fuck to do with it, and so I have to teach it over and over every minute of every day how to be in love all the time. But it is such a beautiful experience. It really is.
yeah. You're describing the journey of being a human being. Oversimplified, life will give us experience after experience for us to meet non-love with love.
Yes. Ooh, I love the way you put that. That's exactly right. Yep. And how much of the non-love is generated within.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Because of something that happened, there's so like speaking to the people who there's so much inner responsibility happening and the shame is just drowning you. I know that because I've been there. I've been that
Mhm.
guy who's like believed I'm a monster. How could I have hurt all these people, done those things, and just beat the shit out of myself?
Mhm.
And that's not helpful. It's important for us, for me to feel always that whatever I'm expressing that is underdeveloped was because of something that did happen at a time where I didn't have strength, I didn't have capacity, I was 100% dependent. And so looking at it from that place, every time I hit those places in me, and sometimes I mess it up and I do pick up the flogging stick,
Yeah.
but every day I practice more and more. And it's interesting being a man saying this, but part of my work is how to cultivate the good mother within.
Mhm.
So when those parts of me that are terrified and freaked out, when I'm in the shower, there's so many times if I feel this part that's feeling crunchy, if I go into what's under it, oh yeah, there you are, terror. Oh, there you are, panic. Awe. Hey, little one, I don't know what you're remembering right now, but I see you. Man, I feel you. I'm right here. I'm so sorry in the past that something happened that was terrifying, that was completely appropriate to panic about. Loss of connection to mother, deepest
Mhm.
severance of all.
Mhm.
Of course, you're terrified. And now I'm an adult. I'm here. I've got you. And you don't need to be different. I don't want to fix you. You can feel this as long as you need to. Every time I do that, it shifts with no expectation. Sometimes I'm believing, I actually am convinced this might be my new state. I'm just stuck
Yes.
here and I'm going to be grieving for the
Yes.
rest of my life.
I could never
And
go back.
yeah. And then every time when I just give the grace of as long as I need to feel this, I'm going to. Every time it shifts. The grace of I call it the grace of God that lives within just meets that place and it integrates. Have a good cry. And
Yeah.
then now I'm excited and now I feel like an adult again. And now I'm inspired and want to go do the thing. But it's so important. And this took me, I'm such a slow learner in so many ways.
Me
You
too.
know, but when I look back, it makes so much sense now. But when I look back in the 20s and the times where I was struggling in my previous marriage, I didn't realize how much damage was created by me not feeling the grief.
Mhm.
This is some of the most damage that happens in the world is the fear of feeling the grief. We can't actually be relational if we don't feel the grief because the grief is the soothing of of the heart, of the soul. It's the tears need to be shed about the thing that was so hard, that was lost, that can't be brought back. And if we can do that, you described it beautifully. And I watch this time and time again for me. If I go in and feel my own grief, then it's so much easier to feel the compassion for another person and see the struggle that they're in. And it makes sense. I can't offer the empathy if I'm not feeling the empathy for my own experience.
Because it's an energy that can't be faked. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Man, I could talk to you for hours. I'm so sorry. Uh, well, I have loved this. Tell us where to find you.
Yeah, my sense just tuning into your audience, one of the best ways to find not just my work, but the work that I do with Courtney, my partner, we have a podcast called The Sacred We. When you search, you might have to search together because we just rebranded from together to The
Okay.
Sacred We. But it's a really great place for people to tune in and just go deeper in this realm of living evolutionary love.
I love that. And I'll make sure that I include that in the show notes as well. Well, I appreciate you so much. Seriously, this has been a very beautiful conversation and it's refreshing. Thank you.
Yeah, such a gift. Thanks, Melissa, for having me and for everyone tuning in.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.